Hello everyone, it's Jamarl Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. I hope all is well. Let me check my volume, make sure everything's good. Guys, if you enjoy what I'm putting down, please feel free to share, like, and subscribe to the content. Trying to keep the show growing, and any help that I can get on that front is absolutely helpful. The show's remonetized, so there's that. That's always a feather in the cap. It always feels like you're walking with a broken leg when the show's not monetized. It feels weird. Not to mention, it makes, put it this way, it's something, it eases the mind that the show's monetized. So Jimmy Dore, let's talk one more aspect of Jimmy Dore. The other video went way too long, so I want to keep this one really relatively concise. Jimmy Dore apologizes, and he gives a long-form, unequivocal apology, and I'm not quite sure this is a good idea, and he's going to get hit for this later on, mark my words, if he's not being hit for it already. Jimmy Dore gets into a Twitter battle where somebody is ragging on him. Seriously. Now, he didn't start this, which makes this all the more screwed up. Right here. Susan Sarandon. So there's some insane hillbot looking at this nonsense, and they don't like that Jimmy Dore or that Susan Sarandon tweets out something concerning Jimmy Dore. Joey Ayub, migrant, feminist, eco-internationalist, no idea what that is, anti-authoritarian. All right, good. We like to know where you stand. You retweeted an apologist of Assad. I've never heard once Jimmy Dore apologize for Assad. So right off the bat, you're lying. You should also put that in your Twitter thing. Right here. Edinburgh Oni, migrant, feminist, liar. Add that to your Twitter profile. Migrant, feminist, liar. And then add in the eco-internationalist, anti-authoritarian. That way we'll give an idea on where you stand. An apologist for Assad regime, quoting a notorious Assadist. If you respect real journalists reporting on Syria, why do you retweet Dore? And do you know who that Assadist is? He retweet. I'm saying this wrong. If you respect real journalists reporting on Syria, why are you retweeting Dore? And do you know who the Assadist he retweeted is? I'm sick of tired of people using the invasion of Iraq 15 years ago to ignore absolutely everything that has happened in Syria since 2011. I don't think that's what's happening. That's not what's happening. But let's keep going. They get into a conflict. This will help you get up to speed on the illegal war being pushed by the United States and Saudi Arabia and the one being cheered on by U.S. corporate media. Now, I've seen this video. The professor essentially lays down what we've done in the region. Now I'm going to show you something that's in covert operations trying to overthrow Assad. It was a disaster. Eventually it brought in ISIS as a splinter group in the jihadist winning. It also brought in Russia. So we have been... Now, I've given this information before in long form, but just New York Times. Behind the sudden death of a $1 billion secret CIA war in Syria. Scroll down for a little bit, because you would have some people like Shane Bear, who at one moment is welcoming Dick Cheney to the resistance. Well, literally Dick Cheney and George Bush to the resistance. In another moment attacking Tulsi Gabbard for saying that we've been supporting terrorists in the region of the world. New York Times. The program did have periods of success, including 2015 when rebels used tank-destroying missiles supplied by the CIA and also Saudi Arabia routed government forces in northern Syria. But late in 2015, the Russian military offensive in Syria was focusing squarely on the CIA-backed fighters battling Syrian government troops. Many of the fighters were killed, and the fortunes of the rebel army reversed. That sounds like we were fighting government forces, and when Russia and Iran came in, they started attacking those forces that were attacking the Syrian government, which essentially destroyed the terrorists that we were supporting. Those terrorists have fled to Idlib and are held up, maybe 40, 50,000 in Idlib. Were it not for a deal between Turkey and Turkey, Iran, Syria, and Russia, they would have destroyed Idlib. Now, let's go back to this. I wanted to give you some context. Let's keep going. It's like talking to a broken clock. The white man's delusion of being a warrior fighting some invisible enemy trumps everything Syrians have been saying and writing for 7 years. Who is this person? It's like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? What does him being white have to do with what he's saying being true? What does he have to... Well, I mean, he's white, so, I mean... So what? What does him being white have to do with what he's saying being true? It's not just him saying it. There's multiple sources where you go to showing that we've been supporting terrorists in that region of the world, and that weapons have been ending up in the hands of those terrorists far exceeding what would be accidental. That's not just him saying it. It's true. Let's go back to this, because honestly, if you have to use the fact that he's white in your argument, then you probably have lost the argument. But let's keep going and looking back at it. Now, you may find a random Syrian, and I would imagine if you were sitting comfortably in Edinburgh, then maybe you may be okay for this invasion. But I would wager, if those terrorists were taking over where you were living, you may not feel so confident in this kind of quote-unquote anti-authoritarian, well, let's support terrorists to take down the government thing. You may have different feelings about it. A person kind of made the point that, for every one you can find supports it, you can find 100 that don't. I've listened to the opposition in Syria, people who were opposed to Assad, but were also opposed to paying terrorists to take down the government of Syria. Meaning that, yes, you can oppose Assad and oppose the fact that the United States is going to turn Saudi Arabia or turn Syria into Libya. You can do both. Right here. And to compare Iraq to Libya is racist, pure and simple. I have no idea what they're talking about. To deny Libyans a role in getting rid of the tyrannical clown because it involved NFZ is like denying the YPG's role in defeating ISIS because it involves U.S. support. Life is complicated. Grow up. No, I think you need to take your words to the heart. Life is complicated. Grow up. Jimmy Dore, myself, and many on the left don't want us involved in these foreign wars. That's what it boils down to. I don't want my tax dollars being involved in foreign wars. Period. Now, this ends up with Shane Barr, whatever he wants to call himself, tweeting this here. An Arab journalist criticizes support for Bashar al-Assad, and he gets called an Assad apologist by a leftist white dude. Again, I have no idea what him being white has anything to do with it, who knows nothing about Syria. I think you're talking about yourself. Like the imperialists they oppose, people like Jimmy Dore use the Middle East as a prop to fulfill their view of the world. No, they don't. And that's the sickness of this. The position of saying, I don't want us involved in foreign wars, is not taking a position for the most part in Middle Eastern politics aside from, I don't want us involved in that conflict. I don't care if it's an Arab journalist. I don't care if it's an Israeli journalist. I don't care if it's an American journalist. I would criticize their position if their position is instigating the United States into foreign wars. Are you shitting me? And then Francesca has an opinion. She is apparently on the side of Shane Barr, a TYT contributor, who says Jimmy Dore, who says George Bush and Dick Cheney are part of the resistance. I'm trying to give you the perspective of the people who she's palling around with. All right, let's keep going. Thank you and others for naming this. The pathology on the left of painting the Middle East with the same brush to stick it to an imaginary democratic and media Illuminati is utterly delusional and disheartening. I say this as someone who wants to see Jimmy Dore and others do better. Again, I don't know what she's talking about. I have no idea what she's talking about. Jimmy Dore, I say this as someone who doesn't want to see jihadists take over Syria after the United States and Saudi Arabia decapitate Assad. What in God's fucking name are you talking about? Quit attacking anti-war voices on the left and rooting for war. Yeah, I agree with all this. All of this is true. All of this. Yes, agreed. Shane Barra, you seem pretty in the war, Jimmy, as long as the Syrian government or Russia is waging it. Again, not wanting to be involved in a conflict to Shane Barra's profound, and by profound I'm being immensely sarcastic, radically sarcastic intellect. And by the way, calling everyone who's critical of Bashar al-Assad a jihadist is utterly childish. Says the guy who just says that Jimmy Dore was into war and that he's okay with the Syrian government and the Russian government waging it. Also, the CIA no longer is trying to overthrow Assad. That hasn't been true for a while. You knew this is if you read. And now you're all going to call them stupid. Then why on earth does the United States taking a stake in the terrorists, even by the UNO's admission, they lowball it at 10,000, but other sources have said up to 40,000 in Idlib? You think it's because we care? We care about the babies. Again, I've shown this other article, going back further, even the British article, showing how we were given such extensive support that they couldn't even go through with a trial in Britain because there was evidence that we've been helping the terrorists. Shane Barra himself even owns up to this, even though he likes to put qualifications on it saying, but we're not supposed to attack Assad. Jimmy Dore flips. He flips. Now, he gets into a back and forth with Francesca. And apparently he sends her tweets. And she outs them. She puts them out for everybody to see. Jimmy Dore, anytime you want to come on my show and straighten me out on Syria war, you're welcome to. Something tells me you won't. She would never do that. She would never take you up on that. None of these people who are supporting terrorists will. Well, why'd I do that then? Because that's what someone with integrity do. You wouldn't want... why can't I say it? There we are. Because that's what someone with integrity would do. Why wouldn't you want to? What are you afraid of? Hey, if you feel this way, I mean, if you're going to take this bullshit stance of, well, I just want Jimmy Dore to do better. Okay, help me do better. Come on my show and get across to me why we should be supporting terrorists in Syria. Shouts more. What are you afraid of? Someone who disagrees with you, don't troll me, dude. We can get a coffee. Don't troll you. Does anything come out of your head besides bullshit? You're a gutless fucking liar, and if you had any integrity or dignity, you'd come on my show and try backing up your bullshit. Public mirroring of me, but you don't have any integrity or dignity. You're a fucking liar, and I snapped you out. I don't know what snapped you out means. Here comes the excuse of why you can't come on my show. Above is a reason I now most certainly won't go on your show. Congrats on all your success, Jimmy. I think you're a decent man. I think you're a fucking liar and you're a page shill. Chill. I think that's supposed to be shill. And I'm going to out you. He flips out. He flips out. I gotta be honest. He shouldn't have flipped out, but I understand why. Condescension is a pain in the ass. It is aggravating. She adds herself into a conversation when nobody was talking to her at all. And then adding herself into the conversation when no one is talking to her at all. The TYT contributor attacks somebody who works for TYT. And attacking for someone who works for TYT does so in a bullshit way of, I'm glad you noted this. I mean, I just want Jimmy Dore to do better, man. I just want him to do better. He needs to get better at supporting some of these terrorist groups. Let's look at the apology. Let's go into the apology. Some of this I agree with, some of it I don't. And I definitely don't agree with him doing it openly. And this is why. This hack tells on Jimmy Dore. Essentially tells the principal on him. This journalist lightly criticizes Jimmy Dore and he goes on full bullying tirade in her direct messages. He's calling Arab terrorists Al-Qaeda supporters. He's been calling me CIA to his 130,000 followers. Unbelievable that TYT gives this guy a platform. It's unbelievable that Mother Jones gives you a platform. And yes, you are an Al-Qaeda supporter. The very least the other person seems to be one. They're anti-authoritarian feminists who also just so happens to be either liar or incompetent. Yeah. Again, he shouldn't have called you CIA because you could just be incompetent. I don't know which one. It's possible you are CIA, so he's not insane. There's precedent. So this is Dore. I've taken a few days to reflect upon both my private and public exchanges I had with Francesca Fiorentini and Shane Burr. I would not have added him. Don't do this. Don't do this. I know you've already done it, but you shouldn't have added him. On Twitter, although I never expected my private messages to be put on blast, there was still no excuse for me to talk to someone that way. People who follow me know that I am unapologetically progressive, who constantly challenge neoliberals and their stenographers in the corporate mainstream media in a decidedly impolite way. I will never apologize for challenging what I believe to be uncritical acceptance and promotion of the corporate state's propaganda on Syria, Russia, or any other issue. In this instance, I disagree with Fiorentini and Shane's position on Syria, and I stand by my position on the substance of the issue. However, I most wholeheartedly apologize for the way I talked about it with them. You should just say with her. You said nothing wrong to his ass. It's her that's the problem. It was wrong of me to speak to Francesca in such a harsh tone, and I deeply regret it. Sometimes I can get extremely passionate about my views, which is why I hope people to appreciate about me. But in this instance, I crossed the line from passionate to nasty and hurtful. That's true. I agree. You did. Furthermore, just as I know Abby Martin, Laurie King, Christopher Hedges, and my friend Lee Camp are not pawns of the Russian government just because they worked for RT, it would be inconsistent and unfair for me to accuse Francesca of being a pawn of Qatar government because of her employment with Al Jazeera. That is also true. Yes, that's true. And while I feel that Shane has been unfair to me and accused me of many untrue things, I should not have alleged that he's affiliated with CIA because I have no evidence to support the allegation. Yeah, you should have framed it or phrased it a different way. I agree. That part I agree with. Like, he could just be lying, or he could just be incompetent. We don't know. A CIA would be a step up. That would assume to some degree of him knowing different. It's possible that he's just utterly incompetent. We don't know which one. You could have framed it in a way of I guess you can say him being CIA was giving him the benefit of the doubt. You should not have given him the benefit of the doubt. As I watched Brett Kavanaugh interrupt and disrespect Senator Klobuchar the other day, it helped me realize that someone who calls himself a progressive should be more careful, measured, and respectful when interacting with fellow journalists, especially women, no matter the context. You're not a journalist. At least I don't think you are. I don't think anybody thinks you're a journalist, but fair enough. In the spirit of reconciliation, and by the way, that's not a bad thing. You're a commentator. You're a commentator. You're giving news. You're giving opinion. And you give it an energetic way. If you want to call that journalism, fair enough. But yeah, fair enough. That's somewhat of a moot point. In the spirit of reconciliation, I want to apologize to Francesca and take her up on her offer for have coffee when I return to LA. I also apologize to Shane and invite him to a civil debate about war policy, and I hope you have more productive debates going forward. Sincerely, a cowed and broken Jimmy Dore. They sent Jimmy Dore to the principal's office. That's essentially what happened. Jimmy Dore got sent to the principal's office. And Jimmy Dore had to come back and apologize. That's amazing. It makes perfect sense in the world if you want to apologize to Francesca. You did go too far. You flipped out. And you talked to her in ways that was completely unnecessary to talk to her. By the same token, Shane Barrett, fuck him. Fuck him. The guy's a goddamn... Whether he's CIA, incompetent, or lying, I don't know which one of those things are true. The idea that that guy is actually writing articles and books is mind-blowing to me, and it's terrifying. Nevertheless, he's a grown-ass man, and he's the one that's been coming after you. Fuck him. The last thing that you want is him to be laughing his ass off at an apology that you made. Look at him apologize. Cenk Uygur made him apologize. Fuck him. Fuck him. This is not necessarily an interpersonal thing. This just goes down to this thing of, it's weird for this kind of public apology like this, for somebody who's been going after you consistently on nonsense. Nonsense. Francesca, yes. I get that part. You lost it in having a conversation with her. That hack. Screw him. Screw him. All right. I'm going to end this here. This one went longer than I wanted, and I tried to go through her things. Stephanie Chateau. I'm protective of Jimmy since he shared my artwork without asking anything in return and stood up to ICE abuses. Shane was being a dick, sharing private DMs. Well, it wasn't Shane that shared the private DMs. It was, what's her name? Oh, I don't know if the other guy shared DMs. Francesca shared the DMs. I didn't know Shane shared them. And I gotta be honest, I don't care what Shane shares. It's Francesca that he seemed to go over the line on. So, and Stephanie, I feel the same way. I'm somewhat protective of Jimmy. My wife, oh, he did? Okay, Shane did too. I gotta be honest, I don't care if Shane did. Jamarl, he shared too, and he cut out segments. That's what I mean. Shane is a grown-ass man. Shane is the one that started it. Shane can suck it. His conversation with Francesca seemed to go over the line, though. They weren't his to share. Stephanie, you're misunderstanding me. Why can't Jimmy apologize? No, Jimmy can apologize. He just shouldn't apologize to Shane, nor should he apologize in the open in this way. Shameless Shane shill, yeah. Most of you guys are too protective of him. Cozy, that may be true, but if we are not, who will be? And so that's fine. If I'm going to be overly protective, then fine. I'll be overly protective of him. I'll take it. Cryptic Warrior, Shane started it. Why cut clips? What they got to do with cutting whole into pieces? Well, look, they were cutting the clips to try to, I would imagine, to try to make them look worse. But again, fuck Shane. Fuck Shane. Francesca was annoying and condescending. So fair enough. Fair enough. Uh-oh. Ron and Garrison. Jamarl goes out of his way to protect dishonest people like H.A. Goodman. Your opinion on Jimmy Dore can't be trusted. What did I say protecting H.A. Goodman? I suspect that you would have a hard time finding anything that I said protecting any of H.A. Goodman's positions, especially with regards to Trump. So there's that. How is that punching down? She has a blue check. That's not punching down. She's a TYT contributor who has a show on Al Jazeera. Whatever. I don't think it's punching down. I guess my issue with it is he was flipping out. Like she was being condescending and annoying, but that's, does that mean that he could just flip off? Like, it just seemed over the top. That's all. That's all. Ronnie Garrison, you flat out danced around calling H.A. Goodman out for his change of stance regarding healthcare. What are you talking about? I did a video saying that the guy was wrong. I did an entire video. Are you shitting me? Oh, dude, you've just lost all credibility. I'm sorry. I did an entire video saying that H.A. Goodman was wrong on it and challenged him to a debate on it on my show. Now, your thing is, oh man, you danced around calling out H.A. Government on healthcare. You're in drugs. Leave the drugs alone. Leave the drugs alone. They're not doing you well, man. They're not doing you well. They're not doing you well. The drugs are not doing you well. I'm sorry. You need to stop. You need to stop. You totally need to stop. Martian Villager, TYT Jimmy Dore can do without. TYT doesn't fit him because they're imperialists and often tends to be anti-imperialist. So I don't know. I'm not one of those people that thinks he needs to leave. I have heard the argument that he will be kicked out, but I'm not one of those people that thinks he needs to leave. Peter Steenkamp, you have some nutters on here, Jamarl, so don't even worry about it. I did an entire video on HA. Hey Jamarl, you still in Dubai? It looks like my grandma's. I am not. We are now in Cairo. We're in Cairo. We are now in Cairo. I'm surprised the internet's held up this long. It's been flaky all day. It's been flaking all day. They'll never kick him out. He needn't leave. I don't think he needs to leave. I agreed with him until I saw the letter, then agreed the fourth paragraph was right apologize because I haven't thought of that. I agreed with him until I saw the letter, then agreed the fourth paragraph was right to apologize over because I hadn't thought of that. Look, I don't think you should talk to people that way. That's the first point, meaning, in interactions. It has nothing to do with her being a woman. It has everything to do with her being a person. But again, not Shane. Not Shane. I disagree with it magnificently over the Shane. Fourth paragraph of the letter, Jamal, was saying that it was wrong to accuse them of being spooks with no proof. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, you can't accuse them of being a spook because accusing them of being a spook assumes they're not incompetent. They could be incompetent. Yeah. They could be completely incompetent. He should have phrased it a different way. Stephanie, yes. But there's precedent, so he's not necessarily insane. Look, the reason why I say he's not insane, there's clear evidence that the United States has been funding a regime change operation. In the same way it spearheaded a regime change operation in Libya and Iraq, and it was known that this was going to take place, meaning taking out these countries in the Middle East, and it seems to have gone through both parties. It is known that the CIA had funded groups or had funded this Operation Mockingbird all throughout the United States of essentially spooks in various parts of the country. He's not insane. If you're looking at the world, and from your point of view of the world, it is clear that we're involved in trying to change regimes in Syria, and you have people who call themselves journalists who say, no man, it's more complicated than that. Okay, I understand it's more complicated than that, but my argument is why we're in the country in the first place, and you guys are attacking me for that. I don't think he's insane to kind of make that, that jump. Problem is, like you say, he doesn't know that. The only thing you can do is posit that. You can't necessarily accuse of that if you don't know it. Hacks and shills, yes. Terrorists, pro-terrorists, yes. Pro-terrorists, yes. Yes. But apology, no. Fuck Shane. Fuck him. People feeding on the Jimmy Dore should leave TYT stuff needs to read more books instead of expecting a reality show out of this stuff. Yeah, I don't think he should leave. I don't understand why he should leave. I honestly don't. Solidarity. The Iranian government accuses Shane of being a CIA agent. I don't know if it's true, but it's worth looking into. Well, I would not be shocked if this in the least. That's kind of my point, Stephanie. This was why I'm sketchy on the whole. Look, you can apologize to her. Shane, no. Shane, no. Again, either he's incompetent, he's a liar, or he's a shill. I'm pretty sure Jimmy Dore could crowdfund an actual progressive professional studio if he wanted to. Maybe. That's not the argument. The two reporters he calls spooks. The terrorists being funded shouldn't be an argument that's proven, but Jimmy was calling them spooks. I know, Stephanie, but they've been attacking him on that front of we're arming terrorists. They don't even want to own up to that point. They don't even want to own up to that point. And again, Stephanie, yeah, I disagree with you on it, Stephanie. I disagree with you on it. I don't know if these guys are spooks or not. And I agree with you. You should have phrased it a different way. Yes, you should have phrased it a different way. But apologize? Fuck no. I'm sorry. No. I am a paying TYT subscriber only because of Jimmy Dore. If they get rid of Dore, the paying will decrease. What's left of that? The ultimate revenge, find proof, then drag them. No, Stephanie, I agree with that. But understand, all of this was a Twitter thing. Like, all of this was a fight on Twitter where he flipped out. My disagreement is the flipping out. If I am having a back and forth with somebody on Twitter, I'm only doing it because I'm having fun. If I'm getting annoyed with somebody, then I may get annoyed with somebody I'm close to. Like if somebody I'm close to. But I try not to make a habit out of like losing my cool on people that I'm not. I mean, my only issue here is the direct message was brutal. I mean, like he was cussing her like he was at a nightclub or something. It was just over the top. But Shane, no. Shane is either incompetent or a liar, and I don't necessarily know which one. Having an apology is human. Having an apology is human, but you're pretending as if the people that he's dealing with are just regular human interaction. They're not. They're not. Jimmy was just being honest. Jimmy was just being honest. That's true. And again, just so I'm clear, I have no issue with Jimmy apologizing to Francesca. None. Zero. They say people who curse are a lot more honest. They are. They are. It's just we have certain. At a certain point, there is no way to have a conversation if somebody is cursing belligerently at you. And asking her for coffee after cursing at her belligerently it's like, come on. It's like, no, she's not going to come on your show after you've literally just cursed her out. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's like he would have been better off, asking her on the show prior. But I have a hard time believing she would ever come and defend that position. Just like Shane would never come and defend that position. I think people who curse has nothing to do with honesty. No, it does. Actually, it does. No, it does. That I agree. It does. So the order of chaos. If the only reason you don't curse is because of formality, rules of formality. Now you may say, well, no, I curse because of how I speak my language and everything else. But ultimately, you grew up in a society that says there were certain words that were reserved for more intensity and other words that are perfectly okay. And people who curse have taken it and says, I'm going to use those words that go beyond societal convention. I'm being honest about how I feel about it. I'm using a curse word. Yeah, it is. I think it's true. Francesca only goes to neoliberal safe spaces like TYT, Edward Klein. Yeah, I don't know. I've only seen him a few times on Al Jazeera. But nevertheless, my issue with this apology, Stephanie, is that Shane, who in large part has been an antagonist, and I would consider to some degree an enemy of Dore's, has ragged on him relentlessly, saying things that were untrue. Now, that guy who was ragging on Dore, who was saying things that weren't true, has a letter of apology that I would guarantee you he's looking at and laughing his ass off now, reading. I would not have sent that apology to Shane. I would have sent it to Francesca. So, that's my thought anyway. The JD, the traveling soapbox warrior. Oh, that's funny. I I'm trying to. I spoke to my the guy who I got the house from, and I asked them, because everywhere I go, I interview people about. I want to know them, if that makes sense. Like, I try to get what is it like in the various facets of where I am to be where I am, and to try to elicit that from anybody that can speak the language, speak English, and translate it to me, give it to me. In Kenya, it was relatively easy to do that because I could watch and listen to their politics on Parliament, and I can talk to them. Here, a little bit more difficult. Not as many people speak English. The guy who I got the house from, though, he did say something that their language is far more colorful. And in being more colorful is, like, he was talking about the Muslim Brotherhood. Because, after the last time I was here was, I think, in 2008. Mubarak was still in power. They had the Arab Spring. And so we're here now after the Arab Spring. I think Sisi is in power now. Sisi, I think is his name, is in power now. But if you remember, Morsi was in power prior. Morsi was elected. Now, he made the point that people didn't know who the Muslim Brotherhood were. And when they got in office, it took 1 year for them to find out and get his ass out. Now, the reason he says things like holding hands down the street, stuff like that being criminalized, in which case he was like, yeah, that's nonsense. We can't have that in our country, and he got rid of it. I found that amazing. And then he says they're going to cut their heads off. They're going to kill them. They got the death penalty. Don't worry about it. And it's like, whoa, that's a little strong. But okay. That's a little strong. It was fascinating to hear him say this. He was saying this because he was trying to say, look, don't worry about it. Egypt is, we're only up and up. There's been a gas deposit that was found. Our country is going to, get much better. That type of stuff. Like, it was fascinating to hear. It's fascinating to hear. So, his behavior goes beyond grifter. Oh, you're talking about HA. I know you guys give me shit for liking HA, but I like HA. I'm sorry. I don't have to agree with him, but I like him. Stephanie, it's like he's trying to intentionally sheepdog people to Trump, like QAnon thing. Yeah, Stephanie, I don't know anymore. I used to think I understood HA. I don't anymore. Like, I thought, and maybe I'm wrong. I thought, in my own head, the way I process things, that after 2016, HA came to the conclusion, kind of the same conclusion I did, and many other millions, that you can't fix the Democratic Party. The party will resist being fixed. And the only way that you can fix the party is to leave. Now, not just leave, but to be clear and loud about the fact that you've left, and to try to pull people with you to that point of view. Not to join the Republican Party, just to leave. We'll figure out what we're going to do once we get out. But at the very least, to get across this idea that you're not going to be here. Now, it made sense to me, to some degree, that HA would say, well, not just leave, you have to also take the extra step of punching them in the nose. So I'm not just walking out the house, I'm also going to hit you squarely in the nose by supporting Trump, the antithesis of you. Meaning, I am going to support Godzilla to go beat up King Kong. That's the way I understood it. That makes sense to me, if I'm being honest, from a purely political standpoint of looking at things not necessarily as being involved in the process, but if you're kind of outside of the process and was completely untethered and unaffected by the decisions that take place, it makes sense in a squirrely sort of way. I'm going to punch you in the nose, not just walk out the house. What does that look like over 4 years? Like, from my position, I look at it as I don't need to be a part of any particular party. I call balls and strikes based on my own humanitarian value system. Do I support it? Do I not support it? And I just go from there. Now, if some organizational body grew up around a particular paradigm like this, because it does seem like I'm not alone in this type of thinking, fair enough. But it's not going to be a Democratic Party. It's not going to be the Democratic Party. If you only had two choices, however, and you wanted to be involved in the political space more overtly because you believe that anything that gets done has to get done through a political space, and the edifice that we have at our disposal right now are Democrats and Republicans, and if you didn't believe that there was a chance of a third party, how do you affect any legislative will without having a Democratic Party that's fixed? And how do you fix the Democratic Party if you remain a part of the Democratic Party? Meaning, if your vote is already a known quantity, then how can you ever change and fix that thing? I mean, yeah, you can struggle and you complain, but at the end of the day, the Republican Party is so bad that people just kind of support the Democratic Party because they're terrified of the Republican Party. How do you fix something like that when you know you have this kind of cuckolded left? There's this left that's, I say the political equivalent of an abused spouse. How do you fix it? Blacks, terrified, so they vote Republican. Hispanics, terrified, so they vote Republican. How do you fix it when all of these groups are co-opted, not because they love what the Democratic Party is, but because they hate or they're terrified of what the Republican Party is? How do you fix that? Well, AJ has taken a perspective. And see, that's the part where I've lost the thread. Because in my head, it was, he takes perspective that the only way you fix it is by beating the shit out of it with the Republican Party. So, I don't know. At this point, I have no idea whether or not that's where he is. He may be in this thing of a Trumper. Who knows? Who knows? How do you fix that? By making a third party that draws away voters from both parties. All right. Let's go do that. Let's go do that. Let's go do that. Also known as Mr. Bungle. Thank you, Mr. Bungle. Like Bible thumpers do. Yeah. All right. Well, that's the rundown of what's been taking place with Dore and this other stuff. Who cares if you don't agree with either party? Agreed. And reminded more and more lately of Lincoln's "A house divided cannot stand." Trudy, same here. Same here. But you understand that the reason why a lot of this stuff is taking place has been this kind of, because it's not just in the States, by the way. It's not just in the States. You put people in chaos, man. I mean, you have this economic turmoil where, if I'm not mistaken, half of the country is either poor, low wage, or in poverty. And even the part that's not necessarily in that box struggle. You have a 1% that's running roughshod, exploiting the workers in the country. Not to mention, many of the jobs are being automated. Many of those jobs are being thrown overseas, in which case, lower wages. Economic stress rips apart a society, especially when you have a Democratic and Republican Party that, for the most part, are undetached. I mean, completely untethered from what the public wants and what the public is trying to push for. You can make an argument that Trump, or for that matter Sanders, is a public sloshing around trying to find some answer within the paradigm that exists in the country. And this is what you got. It's chaos. House divided indeed. House divided indeed. And it's not just the hearings, man. People hate my position on the Kavanaugh thing. But you must understand, I have no idea what took place 40 years ago. I listened to part of her testimony. If that woman is lying, that is mind-blowing. If that woman is lying, she needs to get an Oscar. If she is lying, she should get an award. That said, I have no clue what took place 40 years ago. And not just no clue what took place 40 years ago. I'm honest enough to say, I have no clue. Now, Democrats come on and say, I believe every word she said. Republicans come on, I believe every word Kavanaugh said. I have no idea where to go with that. No idea where to go with that. So, more honest about it. I don't care. I don't want Kavanaugh on that bitch. In California, I will vote for, what is it? Prague Leon. I don't know who Prague Leon is. HA's strategy is ridiculous. You can't say that you want to leave the Democratic Party because they don't represent you and cheat you, then go to the Republican Party who doesn't represent you. But that's kind of my point. I don't think he's gone to the Republican Party for the sake of voting Republican and operating as a Republican. I think he's going into the Republican Party to attack the Democratic Party. That's kind of. I think he's going there to attack the Democratic Party. That's my thought anyway. Like, it's not. This is kind of my point. It's not about, I think they're going to represent me. It's, I'm voting for Godzilla to attack King Kong. I am voting for this guy to go and attack the other guy because I want the other guy to hurt bad enough that something can take place, some change can take place in our political system. That's my thought anyway. All right. If that's why HA is doing it, then he's a fool. He's been tricked into a false choice, a logical fallacy. I'm not going to call him a fool. I will say I completely disagree with him. I will say that. Like, I understand the strategy, but you don't necessarily need to support Republicans to enact it. But to each his own. When stuff comes up, I invite him on the channel so we can have it out. But I don't dislike the guy. Super convenient to wait until Jimmy Dore was on vacation to attack him. It was super convenient, wasn't it? It was super convenient. Let's see. All right. I'm going to call it a day. I have a few more videos that I want to do afterwards, and while my signal is holding, HA is simply following the views. Oh man, I don't want to think that. I look, to some degree, anybody that's doing a show, and I don't mean just kind of blog, but is doing a show where they try to give news, information that, yeah, I don't want to believe that. I don't want to believe that. Jamarl, please cover his Vice video on the FBI Black Identity Extremist program. Black Identity Extremists, I heard them talk about that, not Vice, but I heard with this phrase, this weird phrasing. It's so bizarre. Do you think Steve-O got his mind right, like Jimmy would say, in terms of the apology? Steve-O gave an apology? I didn't know Steve-O gave an apology. I gotta be honest, this gets... I tried to avoid this topic, but my subscribers kept... asking me about this. All right, so let's see. Amy Schumer told us that there was no need to apologize after all. It was a roast, and she was joking. Steve-O has remained fairly quiet. Apologies to the actual classy people who got stuck with us and for... Yeah, I don't know. What's the context? Oh, jeez. Wow. All right. Fair enough. Breaking another apologize. The only reason I covered this is because it's Dore, and my audience loves Dore, so I do try to cover news with it. Trudy, I used to love Dore, but his popularity has made him pompous. Why do you think that? Is there... Danny Knapp, is the weed good where you are? Danny, I wouldn't know because this is Egypt and I don't want to be put in prison. Um, when I was here, I think it was 2008. I was talking to this guy, and he says, "Hey, I can get you some Moroccan hash." And he says, "It's like this much for like $20." And I took him up on it. And then it was like the very day after, I was like, "Oh man, this was a bad idea. This was a bad idea." I didn't go to meet him. Yeah, it's getting laggy. All right, I may have to end this one. All right, I may have to end this one because my video is getting a little weird. I don't think Steve-O. I'm pretty sure they apologized to each other. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they apologized to each other. I'm not quite sure Steve-O needed an apology in the way that he did it in this one. Censored him. Well, yeah, I did push him off the channel only for time out. He's saying something that magnificently untrue. All right, Stephanie. Have a good one. It's just been sticking for the last minute. Yeah, I'm going to end it here. And I don't think Dore's smug. I don't think he's smug at all. Yeah, I don't think Dore's smug. I don't know where y'all got the smug thing from. Clyde was being an ass. I don't care if Clyde is donating. Clyde was being an ass. So, just saying. All drugs illegal in Egypt. Leader in the WOD. I don't know what that means. All right, I'm going to end this. Because, yeah, it keeps going out. All right, guys. If you enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support through Patreon. Thanks, guys.